Looking at this game against a superior opponent, will he try to play, toe-to-toe? Will he just not try anything, just play macro versus macro and try win in a positionally based war? Or will he go ahead and try to be greedy? Will he try to be overly aggressive? And it looks like, I don't know what the third map is. Slayer's Taeja is typing in, so I guess we'll find out. And he doesn't know either.
Yeah, well, we'll have to hear from the admin on that one as far as I'm concerned. The gas coming down right here for Taeja, interestingly enough, that, in fact, did they both go gas first?
So both have gone gas first. They can tech up pretty fast also. And the thing is that you can see Banshees from here. You can also see a pretty fast starport, potentially drops as well. And there's the admin, ASA, confirming that final map, which is Cloud Kingdom. And that's a good sign from Jinro that he's actually asking for the third map choice, considering that he could be like, oh, I'm going to lose 0-2.
That's good.
I'm out of the tournament. So that's
Jinro
good.
doesn't do that. Jinro never gives up, which is great. It's a fantastic attribute to have. But both of them go refinery first. Now, I remember back in the day when this used to mean exactly the same thing, especially if it was a Slayers player doing it. It always meant early Hellions. But it doesn't necessarily mean that anymore, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, Hellions don't really come out as much as they used to.
No.
God, they used to come out a lot.
They did.
They're just not as efficient anymore, obviously, because of the change. But it will be straight into a factory for both of these players as soon as they hit 100 gas, as soon as they throw down that barracks, which they are both doing. It's just the variant kind of comes in now. What they're going to do is, does he take a second gas? Does he increase the income of his gas? Is he able now to tech up and add tech labs and reactors? Or will they not take it and just throw down the starport with the next 100 gas that they receive?
It's definitely a good question. We'll find out shortly. Both of these guys absolutely equal at the moment. Although, actually, that's not true, because Taeja is, one, probably going to kill that SCV, and two, actually hasn't scouted at all. So Taeja has a slight economic lead over his opponent. It's not huge. It looks something like that.
Looks like Taeja's going to be going for a Reaper speed build potentially here.
I
thought he would have done.
No.
He could have easily done it from here, but he does decide just to throw down the starport. Reaper speed build is pretty damn good, man. And it gets caught off guard by a lot of different builds. So I think he, at the same time, did he scout? No, you said he didn't scout. So Slayer's Taeja completely in the dark.
Yep.
And a starport has been thrown down for Jinro. And Jinro's now going for that Hellion Marine and then that Medivac play. And it looks like Slayer's Taeja just opting to go for that single Banshee here without cloak. Doesn't have the gas necessary.
Correct.
But he's okay so far.
Yeah, and I have to wonder how effective that will really be. It does depend very much on where Jinro happens to be when that Banshee actually hits, because Engineering Bay, no sign of that coming down just yet, thank you. And if his Marines are rolling out by that point, then the Banshee's going to wreak havoc. If they haven't, and if it happens to strike before that, then he should be all right, but we'll see. And
so we do see Slayer's Taeja scouting out what Jinro's doing with this Marine Hellion. So he's producing extra units. He's got a single Banshee coming. He's producing Hellion and Marines of his own to get ready to intercept this, as he knows it's coming.
And
a couple of SCVs are coming for Jinro here, so he's going to repair up these Hellions in the center, then look to push forward once again. And as you said, yeah, Viking out for Jinro. And that's going to shut down this Banshee pretty good. It won't be able to kill it fast, but if it's out in the open by itself, that's when Jinro is most going to benefit.
Exactly. If he can catch it as it's coming at him, that'll be brilliant. Otherwise, the Banshee can make its money back by killing a few SCVs before it falls down. Viking DPS is not amazing, unfortunately, so Banshees don't die all that quickly. There's also a Viking coming out for Taeja as well. A little bit of an engagement here. Taeja does have a superior number of Hellions, admittedly not by much. The Viking is now on the ground here for Jinro, making a run for it, and unfortunately that is not a Goliath as much as you would wish that it is. And it comes down to Taeja's control versus Jinro's control here, and Taeja actually lost a lot of Hellions right there.
And he had a hit on the Viking, which is the worst thing to target there. But the Banshee is in the base for Taeja, doing considerable amounts of damage to the SCV line. 5-6 kills so far. Taeja counts as except Banshee because he knows that he has to defend against these ground units.
Yeah, and this is actually looking really good for Jinro. He's managed to smash his way through here, and this is looking fantastic. Unfortunately, he's still behind in supply. He's taken a lot of damage to his worker pool, and that's perhaps the most significant thing. If Jinro can't do damage to Taeja's economy here, then he could be in trouble.
Yeah, he lost 9 workers from that single Banshee now, and Slayer's Taeja has enough units. He's landing his Vikings, and Jinro's force outside isn't enough to do anything here, and he still hasn't expanded. He's just going to continue with this again, and at the higher ground here, does use the Viking to provide that sight range, but overall, if Slayer's Taeja just repairs these Hellions and continues to build more units, he's going to build Blue Flame and Hellion to basically seal the deal with this, and once that is out, Jinro is in so much trouble.
No doubt about that. Brings in a second Viking. Viking goes in the air right there. Jinro taking a little bit of punishment from that. Looking to try and engage as best he can on this arc. It's awkward, but you know what? He has actually done quite a lot of damage. Jinro makes his way into the main base right now. Reinforcements are on their way. Blue Flame Hellion is on its way as well. Jinro pushing forward, loses a Marine, and 2 Hellions go down as well. There's very little left of this army on both sides, honestly. A Viking and a Marine, and that Viking is just going to die in a single shot. In fact, an SCV could punch it. The Viking it needs to take off. It's on the air. It's in the air. It is saved. I don't really see the point, but hey, why not? Every little unit counts. This is just very, very silly, and Jinro is actually controlling this very well. But can he do economic damage?
Yeah, look at that. SCVs will repair that Viking, and the thing is, though, that Jinro still hasn't expanded. Taeja's finished his.
Yep.
So now we have this weird little Viking Marine war and Hellions, but Blue Flame is now finished. The Viking count is going to establish up once again for Taeja, but he hasn't expanded, Jinro that is. So he's actually so far behind in terms of workers, 29 versus 20, and double mules.
That's pretty scary, isn't it? And it's nice for Jinro because a lot of those Marines weren't, what am I talking about? SCVs weren't really doing anything. Nicely done targeting down the mule and doing some economic damage as well. Does he have air superiority? He did, but unfortunately he pops up the wrong time, ends up losing one. A couple more Hellions come in. Blue Flame versus no Blue Flame. That always gets a little bit ugly. And Jinro needs a good position and he doesn't have it. He's driven back there by Taeja.
Yeah, Jinro did land 2 Vikings, killed 8 SCVs, even though he's still behind in a big amount. He did kill a lot of SCVs there, and down goes the command center now, and Jinro not that far behind, even though it looks like he does manage to get that expansion up. But now what we're going to be seeing is a lot of Blue Flame Hellions coming out. He could actually pressure the front of Jinro, and there's no units to defend because it was all Vikings and Hellions of his own. And this is looking pretty bad for Jinro. If Taeja waits for like 8 Hellions, maybe 10, and then goes, I don't think Jinro's going to have enough to defend anything, and his SCV line will go down. Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult to sort out. What I was going to say before I derped completely was the fact that Taeja did have more SCVs, but he was forced to use a lot of them in repairing, and they were off the mineral line for a significant time. So the advantage isn't as big as it appears. Units lost-wise is very, very equal. The income right now, it's looking something like that. Taeja does have a very significant edge there. Now rolling out not too many Hellions, so that might be a bit of an advantage there for Jinro. He's going to get a good shot off as well, even if he's going up against Blue Flame. He needs to reposition properly. Vikings now down on the ground. A lot of those Hellions killed, but there's still 3 going for the mineral line. He's going to be incredibly careful. Another Hellion picks off another one. Those SCVs are spread very well. He gets them, he nails them into the corner. Nicely done, and workers lost not a lot, considering. He didn't lose any SCVs there, so Jinro with a solid defense against that little push out. And that helps him. You know, he's still behind in SCVs, 39 for Taeja, 30 for Jinro, and he is a little bit behind in tech. You know, he's only just now building his 2nd factory. Slayer's Taeja has his 3rd up and running now and is producing from it. So Jinro needs to do something. He needs to throw down his 3rd factory as well, or he needs to expand and take a risk, because he is behind because of that economy. Yeah, I have to wonder if he could do anything with air superiority. He currently has it, and at this rate he will continue to have it by a rate of about 2 Vikings. It's just, could he just go for a Sky Terran build? Potentially he could here, but it's awkward really, because this has played out in a very odd way up to this point. It really has. These very tiny little micro battles at the start, and they're very interesting to watch. Unfortunately, those Vikings are not going to be able to get in a great spot here, but they're finally moving in action. They're going to run right past. So Jinro gets a good shot off. It's just a shame that Viking DPS is so awful. And it's a shame that the DPS is awful, so is the Hellions, so they're pretty bad against tanks, which is what Taeja has now. He still has a decent amount of Vikings. It's 8 Vikings versus 6 of Slayer's Taeja, but Slayer's Taeja has a Raven for the point defense drone, which will easily put that in his favor. So Jinro has to be so careful. Jinro's expecting to have a good amount and a higher amount, but Taeja's like, no, oh, so there's the point defense drone come down. Yeah, and that's nice, because that's even things up quite effectively there, and another one goes down, and he charges right into a tank line, and there's the GG. He can't do it. He does.